Hello, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. So, it's a common question that affects a lot of brands and the leadership building out teams. Should you insource or outsource your team, and in this case, the SEO team? What should you expect from either path, and what are the metrics you should measure as well? Geoffrey Wilcoxson is a senior digital marketer and a subject matter expert at content strategy and search engine optimization. And on this episode, we'll discuss when to insource and when to outsource, the strategy needed from leadership, working with other teams, and SEO. So let's tune in to an SEO strategist with an SEO shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Geoffrey, thank you so much for joining me today on A Shark's Perspective. So tell us briefly about your SEO career to date and how you got to be where you are.
Yeah, well, first of all, Kenneth, thank you for inviting me to your show. I first and foremost, I'm a father and a husband. I love my family, but I've been in the digital marketing space for over 15 years, primarily on the agency side, and have had roles within SEO strategy, content strategy, and business development. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, but I've been in the space for a little over 15 years.
And you've been in Phoenix for the whole time?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it is kind of the topic du jour is we're going to talk about how to get the most out of your SEO today. So at a high level, when we're looking at SEO, and where it is today as far as the value in driving traffic and helping a business grow, how do we need to look from an overarching standpoint, how to get the most out of our SEO?
That's a great question. The interesting thing about SEO is it's this unique blend of human behavior and technology, and that's really one of the reasons I fell in love with SEO. You have the technical side, which is really how Google looks at a website. Is it very crawlable? Is it fast? Is it easy to navigate for their crawlers? But then you have the human side, which is keywords and content and the user experience. So, if a marketer needs to get the most really out of SEO, a lot of it's going to be collaboration. You need to collaborate with within your own house, within your own company, or within your agency. Talk to the guys and the team within the user experience, the design people, people managing your PPC and your social, because there's a lot of insight that can come from those different disciplines that have effect both on the technical aspect of your website, but also the human side, the marketing side of SEO. The other thing too is leverage other departments within your company. I really believe a part of your SEO strategy lives within sales and your customer care. They know the kinds of keywords, the kinds of questions that your customers are asking. So unfortunately, sometimes SEO kind of gets put in the corner, just kind of within kind of a technical discipline, but there's such a human element to SEO that I think there could be a marriage of those discipline leads, but also the departments within your company.
So you're not a fan of siloing it off from everything else like we so often see today.
Absolutely, and part of that is I think is Google is actually sending that signal.
Yeah.
Many years ago, they weren't really looking at the user experience, but now, if somebody types in a keyword, finds a result within Google, lands on a website, and then quickly bounces back because either the messaging was wrong, the design was wonky, it just didn't meet their needs. That's a signal that Google is telling, that brand or that website, that was a bad experience. We may not rank your website for that particular keyword or that theme because they didn't like what they found.
Sure.
And so that's a clear signal beyond, do you have a crawlable website or the right keywords within your page titles?
Well, when should someone look at internalizing their SEO efforts versus when should they outsource? I mean, SEO is a little bit different in that it's, a lot of times people look at the social and how the customer care team, for example, can do it, or they give it to some young kid who's worked in social for a while, and with paid search the same. They either go to an agency or they start to set it up on their own Google Ads accounts and try to drive the traffic from there. SEO is a different animal. When should somebody look at internalizing that effort versus when should they outsource?
Yes, they should definitely think about internalizing it if they feel like it comes down to two categories: strategy and resources. So, do you have the people in house, or do you feel that you would be able to help drive the SEO strategy in house based on really understanding the consumer's needs, having kind of a clear vision of the type of content that you want to optimize, your content development. So really, okay, what is the roadmap for our website?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that then also play into user experience and design? Are you going to be doing a migration or a site redesign in the next 2 years? Those are big milestones for SEO. We've countless times we've seen brands where they've gone through a migration without having the proper resources in house, and then they lose all of their SEO equity because they did not put in the proper redirects. They didn't really do the proper planning, and a lot of revenue and traffic is lost. So, do you have kind of the strategy chops in house to be able to pull that off? The second is the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Resources are so valuable. If you have a great IT team, if you have a great web team, if you have some developers that have a mind for both the technical but the human side of SEO, you can definitely pull it off. And part of it is, do you have a team that can, with those resources, can proper allocate the time and the effort? Unfortunately, whether an in-house team might work with a consultant or work with a great tool, there's plenty of opportunities to have that surveillance of SEO or that insight that comes from a tool. But unfortunately, they get this laundry list of things they need to fix, but then they don't understand how to actually project manage SEO. So they
Sure.
may have somebody
Exactly. Good point.
who knows, who can kind of turn all the levers and make all the changes, but that might not be the only thing that they're responsible for is SEO. They may be tackling other responsibilities, and then unfortunately SEO kind of gets pushed to the side, and then they ask the team, hey, we're not ranking for those keywords, or all those broken pages are still, well, yeah, but I got these other things that I'm trying to tackle. So that's, if you have the resources and the strategy, you can definitely make a strong in-house team, and pitch to management to build it in-house.
Well, so then if you go the route of agency, how do you start looking at getting the most out of an SEO agency if you're not going to internalize it?
Yeah, first thing is transparency. When we have conversations with brands, we really want to understand, do you have the resources? Because sometimes they have the resources, they just don't have the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So first is, do they have the resources? Because a big part of SEO is it's a collaboration. The agency may do a lot of audits and optimization. They send that work over to a team, and that team then the internal team needs to execute. They need to fix the broken links. They need to add the copy to the page titles, the meta description, the H1s, the on-page copy. And so we look at resources, because the agency is going to do a lot of work, especially if it's a brand new kind of SEO campaign. Those first 2 to 3 months are heavy, intensive in terms of time and deliverables and collaboration. And so we really want to understand, do you have a team that can actually execute on that? So that's really important. Second is transparency. If you have a platform that is problematic for SEO, if you have a platform or production schedule where it may take you full 30 days to change title tags or meta descriptions, if you're in a vertical where it's heavily regulated, such as pharma or finance, where there's any kind of changes to the website may need to go through a legal review. That slows down a lot of the momentum that you can have for SEO. So transparency, do you have a platform that's difficult, or do you have kind of a review process that can slow things down? Third is, a lot of agencies can struggle with really actually understanding the client's business. And so being able to kind of have some patience within the first couple of months, especially if you're in a vertical that has a lot of bleed over into other verticals, it can be really difficult for that agency to understand, okay, who are your customers? What keywords are most important to you? How do you differentiate yourself? So maybe take the time. Hopefully you find an agency that actually will have,
Right.
someone within the account services team that will dig into your business. So I'd say, strategy, transparency, and really, helping that agency to know your business.
So to your point about knowing the business, give me some examples of where you've seen that fall flat when
Ooh,
somebody
where it
didn't,
falls.
without naming names. But I mean, I agree. I think that's
Yeah.
with any agency, but especially SEO and keywords, because if you don't understand a brand's business, and I mean really understand it well at the SEO level, it can have a tremendous impact if you don't understand what literally what the people within the business tend to think of. If you're a performance agency, you can learn a lot of keywords, fairly quickly and see where they're driven on optimization. With social, you can see how it interacts with the kind of content you put out there. With SEO, with a lot of the keywords, the stuff that gets crawled over a 6 to 12 month period, it can really change. With your content, it can really change some of the organic traffic that's so near and dear to our hearts as brands and advertisers, that it makes a substantial difference if somebody doesn't understand that business's core well.
Yeah. I'll give you one that fell flat and one that was, I think, was a successful use case of where they dug into the customer to really understand the business. So the one that fell flat is a client that is in the ride sharing and car sharing space, but they provide the software and the platform that sits underneath a ride sharing, car sharing business. So unfortunately, the SEO team did not understand the distinction between a consumer
Mm,
looking for a ride sharing opportunity, or
sure.
to have someone come pick them up, compared to what the business was actually doing. And they actually provide the software that's underneath that. So if you think about Lyft or Uber, there's this gigantic platform that obviously drives the user experience and drives, how both customers and drivers handle that. So unfortunately, there was a period where the optimization was more about keywords for the consumer, but when actually it was keywords that should be around a B2B play. So looking at keywords that would attract the auto manufacturers or VC or other technologies, or looking for software, not for someone to come pick them up. So that was kind of a miss where the agency didn't go deeper to really understand the audience, or the needs of the customer, or the client. Where it actually was really successful was, I was part of a research initiative for a company that provides, or a hospital that provides cancer research and cancer treatment. And through doing some stakeholder interviews and talking to cancer survivors, we discovered that a lot of the cancer survivors were looking for testimonials.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to Google and you do any kind of, or whether it be keyword planner or any other keyword research tool, cancer testimonials has a very small amount of search volume. And so as an SEO, sometimes you just get kind of enamored with the big search volumes.
Sure.
But in that case, we were able to optimize and build content around something that had a low search volume, but really spoke to the customer, really spoke to that brand that was trying to help people who are battling cancer. So
Mm-hmm.
that was an example of where we didn't just rely on the cool SEO tools that are out there, but actually we started talking to who they were trying to reach, and then we can optimize based on kind of the need of both the patient and the research treatment center.
Then I think one of the most important things that affects us all today, and it is very important in the SEO realm, where so many different points of light, if you will, point back to a company's website, is looking at what to measure and how to measure the performance of an SEO agency, especially when most advertisers now work with multiple agencies, or even if they're just one agency, it could be that sometimes that gets siloed efforts as well, just like it does within brands. or it may be the brand's got one internal team and another agency's got an external team working on these efforts. I mean, all these different things can affect how somebody looks at the performance of an SEO effort. What kind of guidance do you give on what to measure and how to measure that performance?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Just over the years working with marketers, I've heard a little bit of everything of what they want to measure. I've had clients where they only are measuring keyword rankings.
Mm-hmm.
If I type in a keyword, do I show up on the first page or not? They didn't care about click-throughs. They didn't care about so much traffic or leads. They were just all about the vanity of SEO, and it's important. It's obviously a leading indicator. I've had clients that really only just looked at kind of traffic, kind of that's how many eyeballs are actually coming to the site. Is it going up or down? I think that's also great. Ultimately, I believe it's really sales or leads. So we've actually had clients where they're, after working with us, or having an in-house team kind of working on the SEO, maybe traffic stays flat, but leads actually go up, sales actually go up. And what happens there is you're no longer kind of chasing the rankings, but you're really saying, okay, how do we attract the right kind of audience? Because sure, you can optimize around keywords that maybe are not as, they're more indirect, not as relevant to your business, and you can drive traffic. But does it turn into leads? Does it turn into sales? Rankings are important. Traffic is important. But, I really try to stress with marketers, let's look at the quality of leads, the number of leads, and the number of sales. So that's one thing. So let's look at really what's affecting the bottom line. And unfortunately, a lot of people within the SEO world can sometimes get a little too enamored with some of the other SEO metrics, and those are important.
Yeah.
It's important, because some of those could be leading indicators. Some of those could help you understand,
They're
is
vanity
it a bad
metrics.
experience? Exactly. But at the end of the day, this is about revenue and attracting the right audience. The other thing I like to look at, though, too, is primarily within Google Analytics, is you can look at assisted leads. So you can actually see where organic search kind of plays within kind of the attribution model. Did someone come in on an organic search visit, and then the second time they came in through paid search or social media and then actually converted? Unfortunately, a lot of marketers still look at kind of last click or kind of last activity, but where organic kind of played a really key part to, introduce that brand into that consideration set or into that awareness phase. And that's where I've really kind of been thinking, recently, the past year or so, is where does SEO play within kind of the attribution mix? I love SEO for that awareness phase, because as you get closer to the conversion phase, PPC, social, really play a heavy part there. But at that awareness phase, they may not be thinking about your product. They may not be thinking about your service. But if you were to optimize and create great content at the kind of that awareness phase, you have an opportunity to get your brand within that purchase funnel.
So let's talk about quick wins then. I mean, obviously SEO takes time, and when you start looking at the timelines and the benchmarks, what's sort of required to, one, look at the quick wins, and then two, where do we start to benchmark out into the future, and where do we set expectations for how performance increases?
Yeah. When I think of quick wins, a lot of times I think about what are you currently ranking for that maybe at the bottom of the first page of Google or a search engine or the second page. If you're thinking about a particular content theme or keywords, and you do your analysis and you see that you're on the 8th page, the 9th page, that might take a long time to move up. But if you see that you have rankings at the bottom of the first page or the second page, you can make a tremendous increase in traffic in a shorter amount of time. Now, moving from position 4 to 3 or 3 to 1, that's going to be a dogfight. It's going to take a really concerted effort. But I think finding kind of a little bit of that low-hanging fruit of that ranking that's maybe in that 8th position, and you take a look at what pages ranking for that, or pages that are ranking, that spot within the ranking within the SERPs, or search engine results pages. If you were to update some of that content, if you were to look at doing some internal linking for that page, if that page perhaps had some you're using a lot of images, and maybe those images are a little heavy.
Sure.
You can lean those out a little bit, make the page load a little bit faster. Sometimes it's just a page or a couple of pages need a little extra love, a little more attention, and you'll find that those can move quicker, than maybe a keyword that you have, a very aspirational keyword, but maybe farther down the results pages.
What are some of the best ways that we need to think about optimization for our site, whether it be, for a PC or for a desktop or for mobile? And then also, where do we need to start thinking about for voice?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, based on Google's change in algorithm and kind of their mobile first index, I would say first and foremost, you need to be thinking about how your website is visible and the experience on a mobile device. So Google rolled this out end of last year, beginning of this year, is really this mobile first index. And what that means is Google is going to look at the experience on your mobile device, and based on that experience, the speed and the kind of that end user experience will affect your visibility across any device.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge. I mean, we've been talking about, this is the year of mobile for forever. I've heard that forever.
Since Alexander Graham Bell.
Exactly. So we've been talking about the year of mobile for a long time, but it is truly here now. When we look at, traffic on the mobile device, a lot of times it's 60% or more is on your mobile device. And so if Google is making that clear signal to marketers, you need to think about the mobile experience. I think, that you need to really look at that. Do you have a website that's mobile responsive? That's almost table stakes now.
Exactly.
In years past, you had a desktop version, you had a mobile version, and then you had to have special tags that said, well, okay, this mobile page is for this desktop page. It was tough. It was difficult. But now, because of all the platforms that now create the responsive websites, I would, start having your developers, start having your teams, start on a pretty regular basis, pull up your website on a mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I'm talking to a brand new, client or company, first thing I do is I pull it up on my mobile. Is it a good experience?
Yeah.
Is it fast? Can I easily find a piece of content? Can I easily answer my question? So mobile.
Yeah, I could agree more. And I always used to get frustrated when people would send me things to review and ask, and I, out of habit, would look on my desktop when I should be looking on mobile, because that's where the customer's looking 99% of the time anymore. So we evaluate all these different changes on desktop, but really we need to look at it from a mobile perspective. So
yeah, well, and it's interesting too, because I know everyone loves video on mobile, but I still see a lot of websites that just utilize a ton of text. And I'm not a designer. I know I have designer friends, but the key is, are you also thinking through just that user experience when they land on mobile? Yes, mobile is important, that some of those aspects of making it fast and making it easy to navigate for SEO. But when they do land on there, would you rather have to scroll through 500 words, or would you like to have maybe a video at the top of the page that maybe gives kind of the benefits and the features and why they should use your product or service? And then make sure you have the content on there. Obviously, content's very important, but think through what that mobile experience is like, because again, whether they come from desktop, mobile, or any other mobile device, if they land on your website and they quickly bounce off, that's an SEO signal to the search engines.
Exactly. So where do you see SEO going? Pull out the crystal ball, and where do you see the future of SEO? Ask Zoltar.
Well, yeah. Well, you talked about voice and voice search. just being in this space for so long, I've seen so many kind of shiny objects kind of come and go. I love voice. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I see a real strong connection between voice and customer-centric content. When you think, all of us think about how we're kind of using voice now, it's very navigational. Okay, where's the closest Chipotle? How long do I boil an egg? What temperature do I, cook my Thanksgiving turkey? Very quick hits, navigational. I need quick information. So I think there's an opportunity to start to marry up kind of this voice revolution with your content. I know one of your, Jay Bear, a few episodes back, I loved what he said. He said, it's one result, and if you don't have a screen, you don't have the kind of the democracy of looking at other results. I think that's the beauty of looking at, search results, whether it be desktop or mobile, is at least you have a choice. But if it's pure voice without a screen, you're left to one. And I was talking to kind of our head of SEO the other day. What if that content's not the best? What if it's just the most optimized content? So I think there's something exciting about going on with voice, but I would probably tell marketers, let's think about your content first, because no matter whether it's voice or any other platform or any other kind of in digital environment, at the end of the day, they're looking for information. So keep your customers at the center, continue to create great content for them, and then optimize for, when voice or any other environment kind of becomes the norm for your customers.
So, Geoffrey, what is your favorite type of shark and why?
Ooh, you know what? Tiger. I've always been drawn to the tiger shark.
Nice.
And I think as a kid, I think part of it was just the sleekness and kind of the grace of the tiger shark. I mean, I do remember being extremely afraid of Jaws, and our family had just taken we were taking a trip to Hawaii, and I think I was in 4th grade, and they wanted to do a boat excursion or out into the ocean. And I said, no way, because Jaws is going to eat me. So, but as a kid, whenever there was some shark program, the tiger shark always kind of caught my attention.
Great. Well, so Geoffrey, it is that time, the optimization time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
All right. On page or off page?
Ooh. I'd say on page. Yep. Because I do have a love affair for content, which actually could maybe be both. But on page, if you create great content, you will attract off page. But I still think you need to build, kind of your authority on the website, on your own domain that allows you to serve the needs of your customer.
Phoenix Suns or Arizona Diamondbacks?
Ooh, Diamondbacks. I grew up in a house that was predominantly baseball. My brother actually played college baseball. And so I also have really fond memories of going to the Diamondbacks. And then that beautiful year, 2001, when we beat the New York Yankees, that was a special moment in our home and for the state of Arizona. So Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, another question for someone in Arizona: dry heat or humidity?
Oh, dry heat all day long. I've been in both. I love the Southeast, but I would much prefer to be baked than braised.
Nice. Well, as Letterman used to say, it's not so much the heat, but the stupidity. So, number 4, backlink or keyword?
I like keyword because I had a colleague a long time ago said that keywords are really people, and I've always been drawn to probably more of the people side or the human side of SEO. So I like keywords.
Keywords are people. All right, so we learned something.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Oh, biscuits. Yep. So the time I spent in the South, we had some family friends that the lady made the most amazing biscuits, or she would put the biscuits in with the chicken and the sauce, and so I do love myself some good cornbread, but I love biscuits. I think there might be more also for me for biscuits because I've actually been over the past couple of years been trying to perfect the perfect scone, and a scone is really just the kind of the British cousin of the American biscuit. I don't like the traditional British scone because I think it falls apart and it's too dry. So my scone is kind of a sweet biscuit that has more scone-like qualities, but my kids and I, we've been kind of working on this the past couple of years. Do we have cinnamon sugar? Do we have a lemon glaze? Do we put in chocolate chips, white chocolate? Do we put in craisin? So, I would say a couple of times a year, we're baking out over the weekends, trying to perfect that perfect scone.
Nice. So, Geoffrey, where do people find out more about you, your scone recipes, your SEO thought leadership, and more?
Yeah, you can definitely find me on Twitter. So you could just Google Twitter, Geoffrey Wilcoxson. That's Geoffrey with a G. The handle is GDub_AZ. So GDUB_AZ. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And if you can't find me online, you'll probably find me at a movie theater because I'm also very passionate about Oscar-worthy movies.
Well, Geoffrey, thank you again so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you, Kenneth. Had a great time.
So there was my conversation with Geoffrey Wilcoxson, a senior digital marketer and subject matter expert at content strategy and search engine optimization. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, yes, SEO is a unique blend of human behavior and technology. It's crawlers meets keywords. But for it to be successful, you really need to collaborate with other teams, whether it's customer service or performance marketing or social or sales or any other teams internally or externally. Leverage other departments and teams that talk to the customer who know well the keywords and phrases that your customers are asking. Second, so when should you insource or outsource? You've got to look at the strategy and the resources. You've got to have the direction from senior leadership on strategy, and then you look at how to build out those resources. Extremely important to this is that it's a commitment and should be. With SEO, you've got to dedicate those resources and not to 50 other projects. Unfortunately, I've seen too often where people don't understand the larger and longer term impacts of good SEO, and they don't allocate the dedicated resources that are needed. That's a complete mistake on their parts, so don't make it. Third, then what should we use to measure an SEO agency if you decide to outsource it? Be careful on the types of metrics you use to measure. Don't just look at the vanity metrics like traffic and keywords. As Geoffrey said, maybe traffic stays flat, but leads actually go up. Sales actually go up. So don't just chase the rankings. It's about attracting the right type of audience to your site and that you use to judge SEO performance as you look more fully at the customer journey. And you undoubtedly will, but please don't just look at last click. Start looking at where your content is driving them and then follow that journey. There is a very good chance that your content, if done well, is going to drive a much higher quality lead and possibly a sale for your brand. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to let me talk to you about another one of the components that makes up marketing today. So whether it's your website or your life, just make sure to optimize it either way. And join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.